Parents in Hot Springs, Arkansas are absolutely outraged this evening after the Hot Springs Public School Board declined to take any action against their superintendent, Dr. Stephanie Nehus. Now, she is not the one who is facing charges, but instead it is her husband, Zachary. Earlier this week, Stephanie's husband, Zachary, was charged once again with possession of child corn. In addition to that, he is also facing a parole violation. So this actually all started back in 2014 when he was charged the first time for 30 counts of possession. And then there was some sort of plea agreement made where the prosecution agreed to drop 20 of those 30 charges, leaving him with 10 charges, and he was actually convicted by a jury in 2016. Some sources say he was given 5 consecutive 36-month sentences for a total of 15 years plus 10 years probation, and another source says that he was actually given 24 years with 10 years probation. But in 2022, after serving less than 7 years, he was paroled. And there have actually been 2 different jailhouse phone calls released from this most recent arrest, one from April the 29th and one from April the 30th, where he and Stephanie are discussing the situation. Now, before I go any further, I do want to say that at the time of his first arrest back in 2014, he was actually a school teacher at St. John's Catholic School. And when he was arrested, he was placed on administrative leave, and then I'm sure he was eventually terminated. In those phone calls, he tells Stephanie that about a month ago, he's having a confession with the Father George, and that Father George tells him to tell him everything, so Zachary tells Father George everything. So Father George apparently tells Zachary that he needs to eliminate any temptation at all. Zachary goes on to tell Stephanie that he had purchased a cheap tablet at Walmart. And so he took a hammer and he says he destroyed that tablet. He threw it in the garbage. And he said it was just days up to a week later where he was already thinking about accessing these images again. And when she asks about the files, he says that there are, quote, a lot of files. He goes on to say that he is pleading guilty this time, that he is guilty and he is pleading guilty. And then he tells her that she needs to ask an attorney about an insanity plea. But my experience is with the insanity plea, you have to be able to prove that you didn't know that you were doing something wrong, and destroying the tablet with a hammer, well, there goes your insanity plea out the window. Apparently, according to sources, these are allegations, but according to sources, Zachary was allowed on the campus of Hot Springs Public Schools back in 2023, and that is allegedly because he and Stephanie have 3 children who are students there. And this is one of the reasons that parents are outraged. There was a special called board meeting that happened this evening on Thursday evening where parents were wanting the school board to place Stephanie on administrative leave, and they said that since they only had 4 of their 5 board members present, that they would not be making a decision this evening, but that they were having another meeting on May the 15th. I completely understand the outrage of parents, completely get it, especially if he was allowed on campus back in 2023, as many have alleged happened. That just shows that Stephanie did not have the best interest of the students, the innocent children, in mind, but instead had the best interest of her children over the students, and that is my opinion. But in defense of the school board, and y'all, I'm not a fan of public schools. Not saying that private schools are better, but my experience with public schools is that administration is dirty and school boards are dirty. And they will do anything that they can to protect administration, even if that means at the expense of the innocent children and the taxpayers who fund all of this. But in their defense, Stephanie is not the suspect here. Stephanie has not done anything wrong as far as we know. And in those phone calls, there's really no indication at all that she had any idea that this was going on. She even talks about being frustrated with herself with how naive she was. So in order to avoid a major lawsuit, their hands are really tied in this situation. But I have had several employees of the school district reach out and share with me that they're very frustrated over this entire situation because they feel like they've been silenced. Understandably, in those phone calls, Stephanie also shares with Zachary that the children are very upset with him, especially the boys. And I get it. I would be pissed at my dad too. And she does tell him that she has a lot to think about as far as continuing in the marriage, divorce, all those things. So drop your comments below. If you'd like to hear these jailhouse phone calls, they are posted on my YT, and the link to my YT is in my profile here on TikTok. If you have trouble finding it, just comment and let me know. As soon as any more information comes out about this case, I'll come back and share here.